The kingdom of Kuru lies in the plains of the Ganga and Yamuna rivers. The Kurus are descendants of the ancient Puru and Bharata clans, as described in the Vedic book Rigveda. The kingdom was founded by King Kuru, a descendant of King Bharata, after whom ancient India was named. According to the Mahabharata, when Shantanu was ruling the Kuru kingdom, he had two queens. His first queen was the river goddess Ganga, with whom he had a son named Devavrata. His second queen was Satyavati. When Shantanu fell in love with Satyavati and wanted to marry her, her father demanded that her sons inherit the throne of the Kurus, which Shantanu could not allow because his elder son, Devavrata, was the rightful heir. Seeing his father's sadness, Devavrata renounced his claim to the throne and took a vow of celibacy for life, becoming known as Bhishma. Shantanu then married Satyavati, and they had two sons, Chitragada and Vichitravirya. Upon the death of Shantanu, Chitragada became the king of the Kurus, but his reign was short-lived as he soon died. His younger brother, Vichitravirya, then ascended the throne and ruled Hastinapura. During his reign, an event occurred. The king of Kashi proclaimed a Swayamvara for his daughters, inviting all the kings and princes except the mighty Kurus and their king. Enraged, Bhishma went to Kashi, abducted the princesses, and brought them to Hastinapura. On the way, he was confronted by some kings, whom he easily defeated. The Kashi princesses married Vichitravirya, but he also died without leaving any heirs. To continue the dynasty, Satyavati called her elder son Vyasa, whom she had with the sage Parashara. Vyasa came to the palace, but the princesses ignored him, and their sons were born with curses. Dhritarashtra, the elder, was born blind, and Pandu was born with pale skin. Vyasa also had another son with a maid, Vidura, who would later become the prime minister of the Kurus. Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura grew up under the guidance of Bhishma. However, Dhritarashtra could not become king due to his blindness, so his younger brother Pandu became the king of the Kurus. Pandu became a great warrior under Bhishma's teachings, waging wars against Kashi, Sindh, Trigarta, Anga, and Magadha, conquering them and extracting tribute, thus becoming their overlord. Under Pandu's rule, the kingdom of Kuru dominated the region. Pandu married Kunti, an adoptive daughter of King of Kunti and daughter of Surasena, a king of the Yadavas, and grandfather of Vasudeva Krishna, who would become a great warrior and statesman of the Pandavas' time. Pandu also married Madri, a princess of the kingdom of Madra. His elder brother Dhritarashtra married Gandhari from the kingdom of Gandhara. When Princess Gandhari came to Hastinapura, her younger brother Shakuni followed her and started living with her, which would become a curse for the Kurus in the coming years. Unfortunately for the Kurus, Pandu's rule ended when he was cursed by the sage Kindama. He abdicated the throne and went into exile in the forest with his wives. Consequently, Dhritarashtra became the king of the Kurus. While Pandu was living with his wives in the forest, the Pandavas were born. According to the Mahabharata, Kunti had a divine boon from the sage Durvasa that allowed her to call upon the gods to give birth to her children. Kunti and Madri used this boon, summoning the gods Yama, Vayu, Indra, and the Ashwini twins, resulting in the birth of their 5 sons, Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadeva. At the same time, Gandhari, through her union with Dhritarashtra, gave birth to 100 sons and 1 daughter. Among them were Duryodhana, Dushasana, Vikarna, and their sister Dushala. After Pandu's death and Madri's self-immolation on his funeral pyre, Kunti took her 5 sons and returned to Hastinapura. The young Kauravas and Pandavas lived in Hastinapura under the guidance of their great-grandfather Bhishma. Bhishma called upon the great teacher Dronakarya to instruct the young princes in warfare and other kingly duties. Under Dronakarya tutelage, the Kauravas and Pandavas became great warriors. However, day by day, their relationship deteriorated and enmity grew between them. The main cause of this hostility was Shakuni, the uncle of the Kauravas. The Gandhara prince, who had come with his sister Gandhari, disliked the Pandavas because he wanted his nephew Duryodhana to become the king of the Kurus. Shakuni used all his influence to ensure his nephews would inherit the throne. Even King Dhritarashtra wished for his sons to inherit the throne. However, Bhishma and the elders decided to make Yudhishthira the crown prince of the kingdom, a decision that Dhritarashtra eventually agreed to. Shakuni did not agree with this decision. He used his influence on Dhritarashtra, but all in vain. He could not accept that his nephew was losing the throne. So he devised a wicked plan to kill the Pandavas by trapping them in the house of Lak. However, the Pandavas escaped with their mother due to a warning from their uncle Vidura. The Pandavas roamed the kingdom of Panchala, where Arjuna won the hand of Draupadi, the daughter of the Panchala king. By the will of their mother Kunti, Draupadi became the wife of all 5 brothers. When the Pandavas and their mother returned to Hastinapura, they were welcomed with joy by Bhishma and other elders. King Dhritarashtra was also happy to see his nephews alive. However, in this joyful court, the faces of Shakuni and Duryodhana turned sad. To settle the dispute between the Pandavas and the Kauravas, the Kuru court decided to divide the kingdom into 2. Hastinapura would be ruled by Dhritarashtra and his sons, while the Pandavas were given a region under Kuru rule, but then occupied by the Naga chieftain Takshaka. The Pandavas routed Takshaka from the lands and built the magnificent city of Indraprastha. However, Takshaka never forgot his humiliating defeat and waited to take revenge in the coming years. Although the Pandavas inherited Indraprastha, Yudhishthira had not yet become a king. To assert his kingship, he invited all the regional kings and performed the Rajasuya sacrifice, thereby obtaining kingship. When Yudhishthira became king, Shakuni's and Duryodhana's wickedness intensified. They did not want a divided kingdom and could not bear to see Yudhishthira on the throne. Thus, Shakuni devised a wicked plan to seize all the possessions of the Pandavas. A dice game was arranged between the Pandavas and the Kauravas, and Shakuni, a professional player, won over the Pandavas. As a result, the Pandavas lost their kingdom and all their possessions and were sent into a 13-year exile, with the stipulation that in the last year they must remain hidden from the Kauravas. The Pandavas spent their 13 years in exile, with the last year spent in the kingdom of Matsya, at the court of King Virata. At the end of their exile, they returned to Hastinapura and asked for their kingdom back. However, Duryodhana had no intention of returning the kingdom to them. Consequently, they sought the help of Vasudeva Krishna, a great warrior and wise man, to mediate. Krishna, a benefactor and great friend of the Pandavas, went to Hastinapura to mediate on their behalf. He requested the return of their kingdom and, at the very least, the grant of 5 villages to the Pandavas. Duryodhana stubbornly refused, proclaiming that he would not give them any land, not even enough to drive a needle into. With Krishna's mediation failing to resolve the dispute, the only solution left, it was war.